Are there any rights for expatriates? Usually people don't know about
This allows you to own your foreign company 100%.
Are you serious?
All workers in the private sector, there is no discrimination. You can actually file suit regarding this.
Under what circumstances do you think that it's utmost necessary to hire a lawyer?
This is a slightly dramatic case. A man can't get pregnant. Why would he need a maternity leave?
Kuwait is still not that advanced as it is in India.
This is one aspect of it, but the money laundering is a whole system.
Freelancers have this concern that documents that they send to their clients, are they legally bound?
This is the first question we ask when this law was passed.
You can choose to not answer this question. Welcome to the podcast, Noor. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So
Thank you for having me.
the pleasure is mine. Why law? Tell me, the first thing I want to know is why did you choose law?
Since I was 16, I wanted to study law. I don't know what reason and why I had strong feelings towards studying law. I just knew this is what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I always believed that it's not just the action of wrongdoers, but the inactions of good people that allow injustice to prevail in this world. There is a quote, I believe, that says that the world won't be destroyed by those who do evil, but rather those who watch and stay silent and do nothing, basically. So that's where it was born. And plus, it basically encompasses everything, the law. Everything from commercial transactions we do daily, from personal matters to business matters. So it's like the manual way for life.
But generally, our passions or our interests that we have usually stem with some struggles that we have in our childhood or early ages, parental issues or something that happened in our household. Did you have any kind of story where you decided, I have to take up law?
Well, I'm sure I've encountered disputes and whatnot, but I don't believe I have encountered like a traumatic response or whatnot. But I've always had strong feelings toward injustice, not for me, even for anyone around me. As an adult, what I see in the workplace, I just can't stand it, and I feel like I have to do something about it.
So at the age of 16, it's really early to decide that you want to
Yes.
do law. Like at the age of 21, I was still unsure what I wanted to do in my life. So what stemmed in that early age?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure why. And I agree with you. A lot of us don't know what we want at a young age. Even in an adult age, when you're when you're 30 or 40. Actually, they tell you, I once heard that in a movie. They say I don't know if it's psychologically true or not, but they say that when you're, as an adult, when you're contemplating or have a dilemma what you want to pursue as a passion, they always say, go back to when you were 16 or like in your teenage years, 18 years old, and try to remember what did you answer the question of what did you want to be when you grow up. Most often than not, that's the true answer, that you want to be. That's the true desire. But when we grow old, it gets like, I don't know how to say it, like dust comes around it and people's perception. But I feel like your genuine desire is when you were in that age.
Makes sense. Thinking about what I was thinking.
Yeah, imagine, what were you thinking when you were that age? So, for example, some people want to be a doctor or an engineer. Yeah, it was an automatic response. Maybe you're influenced by movies, by your surroundings, your family members.
I think this is true because I once told my elder sister, she had just asked me that, what do you want to do in life? And the environment in my house is such that my father always decided that I would join his business. So that was like, it was a given. No matter what you study, no matter what you do in life, you have to join the family business.
Okay.
But like, she asked me, what do you personally want to do apart from your father's business? And I said, I want to be an industrialist. That was and I don't think at that point of time, anybody was answering to become an industrialist. Everybody had like doctors, engineers, app developers and stuff like that. So when I look at my life, I think being an industrialist is the pathway that I'm taking right now in the past few years. I've started multiple companies, shut down multiple companies as well. But yeah, so I think that is coming out true.
You are realizing that was exactly what made you happy and your passion.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
You did business before you did law. Why?
Okay. I have a business management degree, which I got prior to my law degree. Actually, يعني, it was due to circumstantial reasons. I actually wanted to study law from the start, from the get-go. It was the plan. But unfortunately, I missed the GPA requirement by like a few points because before Kuwait University was the only university that had the major of law.
Okay.
So you couldn't study any other university unless it's a Kuwait University.
Right.
So the other preference was business management, and I did pursue it, and I loved it. I've worked for years in the Kuwait private sector, but thankfully there was a private university. It's called Kuwait International Law School. It opened in 2010. So that was a huge blessing because it allowed a lot of people that didn't get the chance to study in KU. Even in KU, if you have a degree, they don't allow you to get another degree.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, the priority is for like if you have a bachelor and the government paid for it, the priority would be for those fresh out of high school to get the seat at KU. There is limited seating. So I got and I didn't ignore it, and I got it from a private university.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't go to Kuwait law?
Kuwait University, no.
No. Okay, awesome. So business management was just like a detour because you couldn't get into law school at that point of time.
Yes, but thankfully I'm very grateful for this detour, actually. I believe it made me a better lawyer for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I believe we plan and God smiles. You know that saying. God planned for me to study business and work in the business sector and then get a law degree after that. And I believe this unique blend gave me a more wider viewpoint in terms of approaching legal transactions. Because again, if you purely study law and don't focus on the technical side, especially if you're specializing in, for example, the commercial transactions. So having the business know-how of the transaction helps you tremendously.
Usually people study before and then take experience. You took experience and then you studied law. So you're a corporate lawyer, right?
Yeah, I had the mostly corporate and commercial transaction, yes, but I do also take criminal law, specifically misdemeanors, and very selective number of felonies.
Okay. So I think the prior experience of being in the business industry would have helped you a lot when you started out practicing law.
Right? I encountered it more often with corporate clients. And sometimes, I always say this, sometimes a client or a corporate client is faced with a legal dilemma. And my advice, sometimes I find myself giving him advice that solves his legal problem, but it's not necessarily a legal solution. Right. It's a business advice because I know the operational aspect of it, but it solves his legal dilemma, legal problem.
All right.
That's the advantage I see it.
Okay. For this question, I want to narrow down to expatriates in Kuwait. So since you are focusing a lot in corporate law, there are a lot of people who are into business and into employment as well. But they don't know the rules, the laws, the regulations. Can you say is there any difference between an expatriate owning a company versus a citizen owning a company?
Company formation, not employment.
Yes.
Okay. And when it comes to company formation, I'm sure you know, for the past, I don't know how many years, it was been the status quo or the modus operandi that in order for any foreign company to operate in Kuwait, you had to have a local agent. And that local agent, you needed to have a 51% share minimum of the company. So that was the requirement. Now, thankfully, we're living in a much better times where the market is much more open in Kuwait. You have two major significant developments that allow you to enter as a foreigner. You can enter either through Kuwait Direct Investment and Promotion Authority, which is a law as well. In short, we call it KDIBA. This allows you to fully own your foreign company 100%. It's also...
Are you serious?
Yes, of course. They usually have certain criteria, certain sectors they focus on. And there are a lot of benefits to coming or entering the market through KDIBA. They have tax exemptions. They actually have land they can provide under their purview they can provide you with. And there are a lot of, a list of benefits when you come through them. But the catch is you have to hire and train Kuwaitis in your company. But you fully own it. The other alternative, which was this year, you can open a branch of your company in Kuwait. Okay, this was recently legislated, which basically amends Article 24 of the commercial law, the one I just mentioned, that it requires the foreigners to have a Kuwaiti part. So it eliminated completely the requirement to have a local agent. For now, any foreign company can actually operate directly in Kuwait without needing a local agent.
So this is already in practice.
Yes.
Okay. The scenario you're suggesting is a foreign company opening a business here. What about an expatriate trying to open a local business? Is that the same?
No. Again, if you want to establish a new company, okay, and you want to own it for 100%, that's not yet regulated, okay. But you can always partner with a Kuwaiti partner, okay. And there are other means to what do you call it? There are many means to enter a partnership. It's not just cash upfront. You can have material shares or work. They call it sweat equity, work equity. But you can always, again, have a branch outside. Have a headquarters outside and open a branch here.
Right.
There's always a way around it,
Right. So if I open up a company in India and then I bring a branch here.
Correct.
So then I can own 100% of the shares.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. So are there any rights or advantages for expatriates that usually people don't know about? Because, in Western countries, people focus a lot on their rights, the Constitution. They know, all these things. They read the Constitution as well. But here, as expatriates, we usually don't read the rights, the laws, the regulations. So can you suggest few rights and privileges that expatriates can enjoy in corporate?
Okay. So there are huge. I always recommend, by the way, specifically in the employment workforce, mashallah, we have a lot of a huge segment of society. And I highly recommend they go everyone, or even if they're not a legal professional, because it's very enlightening to know. Go through the Kuwait Labor Law number 6 of 2010. Okay, it will shed light to all the rights that you require. And by the way, it's available in English. So, and in a very layman terms, I don't think it's very hard to comprehend. You can always ask. But reading the labor law, there are many privileges and rights for workers, not only expatriates. So the labor law encompasses both expats and the locals. It encompasses all workers in the private sector. There is no discrimination, and it explicitly states that. And I believe one of the most common things I recently, indemnity obviously is major frequently asked questions many expats work.
Okay.
And obviously there is a mechanism for that. There are many things on the top of my head. For example, wrongful termination or arbitrary determination. Your employee can't fire you without a cause. It has to be caused.
Okay.
Or if you prove that it was, discriminatory. For example, he fired you because religion or because your race or your ethnicity. You can actually file suit regarding this. Overtime, you can get overtime, but many employers sometimes take advantage of, especially foreigners that are not equipped or familiar with the law. So they don't pay them overtime. So actually, overtime, you get paid, you're allowed 2 hours per day per law. You can't employ a worker overtime exceeding 2 hours. And these 2 hours need to be 25% higher than his salary. And if you employ him in the weekends, he has to get 50% higher than his salary. And I believe if you employ him and make him work during a public holiday like Eid and New Year's, he gets 50% more than him. So if he weighs his right, he can actually claim that in court later on.
Right.
So and even when it comes to, there's more specific laws related to women in employment. For example, you can't employ women after 10 p.m. between 10 p.m. and 7 p.m. by law.
Well,
yeah, there is a whole chapter regarding employment of women.
Right. So you're recommending everybody to read that.
Definitely.
In labor law.
Yeah, Kuwait labor law. It's available online.
Okay, awesome. You were speaking about discrimination, and this reminds me that there was an event you had attended, and you spoke about nepotism in Kuwait. There are other lawyers like Lina Abdu. They really focus on gender inequality issues, whereas you focus on nepotism. So can you explain what that is in Kuwait?
Okay, in the context of that specific conference, inclusion beyond initiatives. Okay. So now the hot topic going on is inclusion and diversity and whatnot. But the idea is, what after this conference? We don't want it just to be fluff and just academic, theoretical talk. Yeah. We want something really tangible on the ground to happen. We want to effect change. So the purpose of it to address discrimination. So these are what the speakers addressed many sorts of discrimination. And the reason I brought up nepotism is because I wanted to shed light that discrimination has many forms. Yes, gender is the most common thing that we are discussing, but it goes beyond that. People can, again, as I mentioned, it goes into religion, ethnicity, and also nepotism, because you're talking about the GCC region. So nepotism is, I believe, I'm not negating that gender discrimination exists, okay? However, I am shedding light on another aspect that also exists and maybe more commonly in the day-to-day corporate world than gender discrimination, which is nepotism. Okay. And what we mean by that is people favoring friends and family and people they know over people that are qualified and based on merits. And this actually hinders innovation and development and fair treatment.
Right.
So it's a discussion worth addressing.
Right. So has Kuwait taken up some objectives regarding this?
Look, the law doesn't discriminate. So obviously it is counterfeit the concept of nepotism and any sort of discrimination. Even the Constitution, it clearly stipulates that everyone is equal and you cannot hire or treat someone unfairly based on ethnicity. Everybody is equal in terms of responsibility and rights and obligations.
Right.
But the fact is, in reality, is another thing. That's why you must be educated in the law. So when we face it, we tackle it head on.
Right. So you're saying it's not systematic oppression from nepotism. It's not a systematic discrimination. It's more of a local discrimination, individual based.
Of course, it is individual based.
You had recently attended the UAE companies investment meet. What is this the topic about nepotism discussed there, or is this a separate event?
It was a separate event, actually.
So what was this about?
It was basically about shedding light on the investment opportunities in Kuwait and the business environment, how it's like in Kuwait. So we talked about the legal aspect of it, how the regulations and the most recent developments in terms of the business environment in Kuwait to foster relationships between the UAE.
Okay. So what was the main key points discussed? Like, what did audience take out from this?
What I'm hoping they are encouraged to invest in Kuwait more. That was the whole purpose of it. So I'm hoping from all the speakers we had speakers from Kuwait Direct Investment Promotion Authority. They talked about the advantages they provide, as I mentioned, the exemptions and whatnot. And we had speakers from KFH speaking about the banking sector and whatnot. I addressed again as well as another colleague about the legal landscape in Kuwait. So how the steps of applying for a license is introduced. We're taking progress. Yes, it's not a pink world, and I'm not saying we're living a perfect world, but this does not negate there is definitely progress from where we were in the past. So we address things like the legal developments of foreign companies entering, as well as the process of applying for a license. So even there is a report for the World Bank that evaluates the business landscapes for each country, and the ranking of Kuwait actually stepped up a few points. They actually, based on the report, they evaluate speed, cost, and number of steps to get a license.
Okay.
So on that, sentiment, the Kuwait Business Center was established in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, where the steps to apply to a permit was reduced from 15 to 4 steps now.
Wow.
Yes, before it was 15. Yeah, you have to, I'm sure you have to go back and forth and go to the ITFA and whatnot. Now they made the business center for everyone that wants to incorporate in Kuwait that holds everything under one group, and most of the steps have been digitized.
Awesome. So let's move on to the spicy questions. So as a lawyer, there are a lot of people who would want to ask these questions. The first one is people don't know when to hire a lawyer. They think that hiring a lawyer sometimes is not as advantageous for them as it should be. Under what circumstances do you think that it's utmost necessary to hire a lawyer?
So people usually go to lawyers when they're in trouble, most.
Right.
But that's not the only reason they go to lawyers. People go to lawyers when they're in trouble, or when they're happy moments, when they want to enter into a business partnership, or they're getting married, or they're not so happy moments, they're getting divorced. But you don't have to wait for a crisis to hit to actually, obviously, lawyers are very good crisis managers. However, specifically in corporate, let's say, any founder or entrepreneur, I highly recommend that a lawyer should be involved from day one. Why? Because whether it's an in-house lawyer, like in the team, or an outsourced law firm or an external lawyer, some founders have like a chief legal officer within the team. So that would suffice. But the idea is to have a trusted legal advisor for the company from the get-go, because a trusted legal advisor will actually walk you through from the start of incorporating your company and establishing it until fundraising, for example, and litigation suits, until all the way to exiting your company, selling it, or IPO.
Right.
So it walks you through the journey and drafts your content. You don't have to wait for a problem to happen. You can avoid a lot of things and a lot of litigation disputes if you have solid contracts, avoid pitfalls.
Also, I think it is more efficient because a lot of legal things, the entrepreneur tries to do it by themselves.
Yeah.
So it saves a lot of time as well in the early stages of the company.
Definitely. And actually, sometimes it's not always, let's say, a need of crisis. Sometimes it actually helps the business person's commercial goals. And for example, if you register your IP rights, it's not just to protect you. It actually, it's monetized. It becomes an asset for you as a founder.
Right.
So it comes into the value. If you don't register your IP, which is a lot of things, product names, logos, and many of the things that under brand identities, it actually becomes an asset under your company. And it's included in the valuation. So it is a factor as a business, from a business mindset. It does help you, not only from the compliance or like protective aspect.
When a client comes, what are the key things that they look for in a lawyer? That when they choose a lawyer, these are the features that a lawyer should have.
I do believe in speciality. If you're going to do a certain transaction, like a venture capital transaction or anything that has to do with corporate and commercial, it's best to go with a lawyer that has a track record or dealt with these type of cases,
right,
for the sole reason that he will be more effective, he or she, and it will also be more efficient. When someone is not familiar with the technical know-how, the process will be longer. You need to educate him on the technical aspects of it. But if he knows your technical aspect, it will be much easier. He will be more creative and whatnot. So that definitely, he needs to know your business very well and knows your situation very well in order to be effective. You also have to be very comfortable with his communication style. But that's definitely something. Some people are competent, but there's just no synergy. Okay? Yeah, you need to be comfortable. Yeah.
Also, it's like if you choose the wrong lawyer, then you pay him, then you fire him, then you get the right lawyer. So it's like a double expense.
Yes.
What is one of the most weird cases you had?
Okay. Weird? This is a slightly dramatic case. So there was a couple, a happily married couple that were married for 30 years. It was love at first sight, and they were like Romeo and Juliet. And after the husband passed away, the wife went on to collect the documents for inheritance. And she found out that her name was not on the list. And she asked why, she had the court representative why her name was on the list, not on the list. And he told her that, Mom, you've been divorced for over 20 years. And she was stopped dead in her tracks, divorced for 20 years. And he actually didn't divorce her, by the way. Like it was, I can't divulge the details of it, but there was a power of attorney made to other people, and someone else didn't. So the husband did not actually divorce.
So the wife was living with the husband for 10 years.
Yes.
And
20 years. And they have a daughter. So, and it was beyond, it was a very shocking case. And it goes beyond actually just mere legal and goes into Islamic jurisprudence. And you open the door of Sharia. What does that relationship classify then? You know what I mean? And then on that note, now we're finding a sort of continuity of the marital relationship. So because it actually was existing. Yeah, it was
Great
it was very shocking to hear that, and
How
bad intentions.
how do you cope out of this problem of you're already feeling in an emotional state, unstable emotional state because your husband passed away,
Exactly.
and then you come out and you find out that this happened with you.
Exactly.
My God.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Terrible. But do you watch Suits?
Definitely. Every legal show. I wanted to relax. I watch legal shows to relax.
Is that your favorite show?
No, my favorite legal show is The Good Wife. I love it.
Really?
Yeah, by the way, the name does not portray the content of it. I know the name sounds like it's something family or marriage. No, it has nothing to do with, it's purely a legal show. Obviously, there are some politics and romantic, but I like it more than Suits because it's more realistic
Okay.
and more diverse, the cases. It's more legal oriented more than Suits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, are you saying that Suits is more of like imaginary cases?
No, look, when it comes to legal shows in general, they have legal professionals, they consult with them because, again, it has to make sense. They can't just make things up, whether it's legal proceedings or accusation. They have,
Right.
It's like with even medical shows, they have consultants, doctors and whatnot. So the cases and the terminologies are true. Okay. It's just how it's portrayed. Yeah. For example, some legal shows, they have, more intense, they amplify for dramatic effect. For example, cultural confrontations or how they speak to each other. In reality, it's not that. We actually are very civil and much more quieter, whether it's with our opponents or our peers. Like if we're standing against a lawyer that's our peer, we don't hit on him and how they say these. No, actually, we enter the courtroom as opponents and we leave the courtroom as friends.
Wow. I've always wondered this one. Is what they showed in reality happening the same way?
That part, the conversation between the opponents is not that way. Okay, sometimes it is, you have like a very intense or a very frictional case, but no, most of the day, smooth ride.
The first case of Mike Ross in Suits, he was smashed by his opponent.
And I did. Mike Ross, the associate of our inspector,
Yeah.
it was an identity in this first case. There was this other lady.
The housing court.
The housing court.
It was his first case, and she was very experienced.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character from Suits?
Tough question.
Oh.
I would say Harvey Specter and Jessica Pearson.
Harvey Specter, I think he's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
So that's not an option. You have to pick someone else.
Jessica Pearson.
No, someone else.
Donna.
Okay, now we're
I love her quick wits.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Lewis is crazy in that way.
Yeah.
The way he responds to everything, he's amazing.
True.
Also, Lewis is a corporate lawyer. I mean, commercial lawyer.
Yeah.
Right?
All of them are basically mostly commercial.
But I think he's into finance.
Yes, I remember that.
This reminds me, you told me that you're also interested in financial technology, Fintech. So what's the landscape of Fintech in Kuwait and how it's progressing in the future?
Okay, so Fintech is also like a hot topic coming globally, not even just in the Kuwait or the GCC. But in Kuwait, the Fintech landscape, and there are many interests for entrepreneurs. That's why it's being discussed, because there is, demand is on the rise.
Right.
Many founders are being encouraged with ideas and things like that. So in terms of Kuwait, it is regulated, but the regulations are a work in progress. Mm-hmm. So the main bodies involved in regulating fintech are the Capital Markets Authority and the Central Bank of Kuwait, the CBK and the CMA. The CMA only under their purview is the part where it intersects with investments and trading securities. Other forms of fintech, when it comes to monetary operations and whatnot, payment systems, it's purely the CBK. And CBK has actually approved a list of payment systems, fintech companies, but they're mostly e-payment businesses like MyFatura, Tap Payments. Yeah. These already got approved and they're obviously. But there are other forms of fintech, applications of fintech, like electronic money issuers. Okay, So there are many people that, for example, we had a client, it's still ongoing, but they're a big company basically, huge, and they want to enter the market. Okay, they deliver the EMS service provider. So CBK is the one responsible for that. But
CBK is the central bank.
Central bank,
Right.
yes, CBK for short. So CBK, because they're apprehensive of the idea of fintech, because it's valid concerns because of money laundering and abuse and whatnot. But I wish it would be more agile, because, for example, this company, they actually couldn't enter even the sandbox or had nonetheless, even the sandbox is not the appropriate solution for them. They should come directly because they already have a proven track record operations in many countries. So a sandbox wouldn't be ideal for them. A sandbox, the idea of it is to have them test their products and services in a controlled environment. Okay, usually for a startup that just is implementing the concept, that would make sense. But for a global huge organization that has the same activity run in other countries, already it's proven the concept. So why enter a sandbox? So I appreciate they've made commendable strides, but I wish the approvals would be faster, and it would be more systematic. Sometimes we feel it doesn't make sense. They close the window and we don't know when it will open again to apply.
Right. Also, I think in these fintech companies, when I compare it to India has a digital payment system.
Yeah.
Kuwait is still not that advanced as it is in India, for example. Like a service like VI. Would you call VI
a bank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you call that a fintech company?
Technically, yes. It's classified as a digital bank, and they don't get approval. As well as we have KFH, I believe they have to that 10.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
My friend actually worked on the app development on TEN. So that's how I know. But these are very recent applications.
Yes.
Before that, there were no such services.
Yes.
We have links to pay,
Yes,
like 10
exactly.
pay.
And ideas are still on and counting. And now that it's being regulated, I'm sure it will open even more, encourage more and more entrepreneurs to apply.
Right. They came up with a new service called One. Have you heard of that?
Yes. I'm not quite familiar with it. I was trying to, but I wasn't quite familiar with
That is, I think,
but it's actually, I believe it's like a payment system.
Yeah. It's actually equivalent of what we have in India. It's like a transferring money just by phone numbers.
Yeah.
Just if I have your phone number and I want to transfer my funds to you, I can transfer it just by using your phone number. I don't have to add your account information and stuff like that. So I think that is a good step forward.
Definitely.
I want to talk about freelancers. We're still freelancers as of now, or inshallah hoping to officiate our company very soon. So freelancers have this concern that their documents that they send to their clients, like invoices and quotations and stuff like that, are they legally bound, or do they have any weightage in court system and legal system? And if not, why?
So you're a freelancer and you are dealing with a company or any client, even if it's not a company, you're offering your service, a specific type of work in exchange for money.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a contract in place? So obviously all transactions freelancers, they do. I've dealt with freelancers a lot, even when I was in corporate. You have a contract in place that regulates, we are doing this. Any example, if you want to do a design, anything, there's always a contract. So of course it's enforceable. You don't have to be a corporate entity or get a license to enforce it. No. Okay. But I do, again, I always amplify the need for contracts. And I once had a freelancer, he's a composer, and he's a, what do you call it?
Sound composer.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's in the artistic creative field, and clients come to him and they deal with him. They bring them, they give him the audio file and he composes. Okay. In this scenario, he didn't have a contract. So he didn't have a contract in place. He's a freelancer. After he submitted his final product, the شركة الإنتاج, like the production company, they told him, we want the raw file. Mm-hmm. For him, as a composer, he doesn't want to give the raw file, and he told them verbally that he doesn't want to give them the raw file. Okay, why? Because first of all, he wants to protect his work, because they can manipulate it and then say it's his brand, it's personal brand, and then he say, "Wallah, this is my work." No, Anna, I gave you a final product based on my the way I composed it, and I hand it to you. This is what I'm tasked with. So if there was a contract, so to the other party was arguing, no, we want it and whatnot, because again, they can actually break it down and do other tunes from it, which is unfair to the composer, the one that he created it from scratch. Yeah. So it's his product, intellectual property. So because there is no product, there was verbal dispute. Of course, he is he can keep his foot down and not give them, because it's his right. But I'm telling you the consequences of what happened. They can go to court, and if they go to court, he can still prove his defense, and they will prove their defense. We will say, well, it's intellectual property, he owns it according to IP laws. They will say no, but it raises the argument that it's mixed now. We have our audio files and his audio files. How do you classify this? So you will, it's a mixed product now. You merge the two.
They'll fight on schematics.
Yeah, but it will, if you have a contract in place, it will stipulate in one of the provisions that I own it and I will not give you one. It will cut time.
What are the advantages of being a freelancer versus having a company as the same service that a freelancer provides? Should he have a business, an official company, or just...
The main attractive point about a company in terms of protecting your money. When you're a freelancer, you're personally liable for everything.
Right.
I can sue you personally with your own money. When you're a company, and you take, there are seven forms or shapes in Kuwait law. The most common is the LLC, limited liability company. You have a public shareholder company, a closed shareholder company. You have JV, joint venture. So you have to take one of these if you were to incorporate Kuwait. The idea is, for example, in an LLC, you're personally liable. You're not personally liable. You're only liable to the extent of shares you own in the company. So let's say an issue or dispute happened with clients or customers. They can, and what's very common, we see them every day, they will sue the company itself, okay? And you can be held liable only to the extent of your shares. So in your capacity as a manager or founder of or partner of the company, but they won't touch your personal money.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're not a company, you leave yourself exposed.
Mm-hmm. In terms of protection, it's better to have a company. But then there's an issue that you have more costs as a company.
True, but at the end of the day, you're a business. You're planning. The idea of setting up a company is to make profit. And you want to do this. If you want to actually scale and you're ambitious, you will have to have systems in place, contracts in place. If you dealing with clients, or if you want to target corporate clients, some of them mandate that you are a company. They don't like to deal with freelancers.
Right.
So
we face that problem.
Yeah.
Yes, and it limits your scalability. Let's say,
Sure.
And it limits your scalability. But it depends on where there's no right and wrong. It depends on where you see yourself in life and what are your goals. Sure. If you want to scale and reach $1 million valuation, and you want to make a lot of money, then you have to think long term, not short term.
In the recent changes in the law, they've allowed freelancers or like home business owners who are citizens of the country to have licenses.
You mean are you referring to the micro businesses?
Yeah.
Yes.
The home business.
Yes.
And it's still not activated for expats.
Yes. So yes, it's not. But again, as I mentioned, to enter as an expat or a foreign entity, it goes either the ways I mentioned earlier, which is through Kadiba or through a branch of the company. So that's the main thing.
You can choose to not answer this question. So if I have a dummy company in India, just a dummy company, and then I bring a branch here, will that work?
What do you mean by dummy company?
Like, I don't have an official real company with people working there. I just have a license.
I understand. And this is a great question. And we are all waiting for, this is the first question we ask when this law was passed in January 2024. Mm-hmm. It's like anybody can open a branch. It raises a very important question, because what's the criteria? So so this law is passed, January, but the executive bylaws have not been issued for this amendment.
Okay.
The executive bylaws will answer what's the criteria. If they if we leave it open, it's open to, if they leave the criteria open, it will be subject to misuse. As you said, anybody can open a dummy, as you said, company and open a branch. This is relatively very, very new. Again, I'm sure there are maybe a handful of cases, maybe just now, but it's still under experimentation. So these type of questions, when you ask, we will know the answers in the short future, inshallah.
Okay, interesting. But the law is activated, yeah?
Yeah.
It's in place.
Yeah.
Right.
But usually the executive bylaws is what regulates the law itself. They say the mechanics, the criteria, on the execution level, how will you apply it, who's responsible, what not, the steps. That's the executive bylaws. It's separate from the law.
Okay. There's another question I wanted to ask. Like, Kuwait doesn't have income tax. And
For individuals.
For individuals. Even for companies, right?
No, it has for corporate, foreign companies. They're subject to corporate tax. Foreign companies, yes.
Like Chinese construction companies and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but like companies that are set up in Kuwait locally, they don't have income tax for that, right?
No, local Kuwaiti companies. They have probably some of them have the zakat. They can be subject to zakat, which is 1%.
Right. So how does the government tackle money laundering? Because when you don't have tax, you don't have to report the authenticity of your earnings, your incomes towards the government.
Oh, you have to apply. Every company has to submit their financial statements to the MOC.
Yeah, but we had another guest on our podcast, Abdullah Nasrullah, I think so. He said that auditors are making audit reports based on what the company is providing them, the information. They're not really actually auditing the company, and provides the information to the auditor for the government filings.
Okay.
The auditor is just receiving information from what the company is providing. The auditor is not auditing the company.
Yes.
They're not
By the way,
inspecting the company.
Yeah. So if I change the balance sheet here and there, reducing the amounts, and I give to the auditor will make accordingly.
The government inspects, not the auditors.
Okay.
We have regulatory bodies that govern this. For example, in investment firms, investment companies, the regulatory body for investment companies is the CMA, the Capital Markets Authority. They actually come and I remember I used to work in an investment company. It was every year they have a check-in process when the inspector actually comes physically to the office and sits for hours in the meeting room, and we have to literally combine all our stuff, not only financial, any marketing activities we did, they have to review them. So we consolidate everything, their financial statements, literally everything. It's under their purview for them to inspect. So the inspection is there. They do have visibility, but there is a governmental body, regulatory body for each business activity. For example, the Central Bank of Kuwait governs banks' activities. So there are, and of course with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry.
So that is how they tackle the money laundering issues.
This is one aspect of it, but the money laundering is a whole system. It's not just one aspect. You have at the AMN law, you have the Central Bank plays a critical role of it. There are many authorities that oversee this, so it's well connected like a spider web. So,
all right, people think that the law in Kuwait is biased towards women. Do you think that's true, or do you want to debunk this myth?
Let's debunk this or unfold how it's. I believe I know what you're referring to. I hear this, especially in the media. They say, it's always sided with the woman. And it's more specifically, I believe, when it comes to family. I see this comment a lot in family law.
Right.
That in divorce disputes, when the law is always with the woman. This is not true, okay? The law applies justice and equality. So the law is neutral. It does not take sides. But we have to grasp the meaning and the difference between the principle of equality and the principle of justice. They are different meanings. So when you say achieving justice, you are assuming that you are taking into consideration that people have different biological, physiological, societal differences. Okay? Regardless, man, woman, any other minority. However, it takes proportionate actions towards this. And equality, on the other hand, is like a ruler. It assumes that everybody is the same capabilities, abilities, talents, no physiological. It does not take into consideration physiological, biological differences. One line. Okay. So it's a big difference between the two. You cannot, يعني, and I believe this is where the misconception stems from, that the law is biased for women. Yani, let's take an example where in family law, okay? And this is, by the way, yani, legislators and policymakers, they take into consideration justice and equality both. Yani, when you apply equality, you don't necessarily achieve justice. Okay? The goal is to achieve justice. Equality is not always the way to achieve justice. In some codes, at some rules, yes, we apply equality. Okay? So, for example, in family law, you have the most controversial things they say is usually the money that the husband or that he will give his divorcee. It's basically alimony and child support only. Okay. So child support, you're paying as a father, you're obligated by Sharia and by law to pay child support. Okay.
Right.
So it's just because you're divorcing your wife, it's not like you're neglecting and abandoning your children. They're still your children, they're still your father.
Right.
So, but because they live with the mother and that the custody is with the mother, you'll have to provide housing support, you'll have to provide education. But this all goes to your children. So either way, you are going to pay it, whether they are with you or not. You are essentially responsible for your kids. The only thing you pay for the wife, okay, the woman, is the alimony, okay? And that's like the basic things that a woman is entitled to after divorce. And it's usually a max of 2 years. It's usually 1 year, okay? And that's it. You're not obligated to pay for it. Everything you're paying beyond that, it's for your kids, okay? And the amount of money is subject to the income of the husband. So that's why you see differentiators. But the law doesn't differentiate between a woman or a man. And for example, in labor law, you will see that it clearly stipulates that men and women, if they're doing the same job, they should be paid the same. It's a clear written article, clear as the day. So, but at the same time, okay, another article in labor law says that women are, for example, only women are entitled to 70-day maternity leave. They can also are allowed to get 4 months unpaid leave.
Okay.
Okay. Now, does these rules apply to men? No. Does this mean that the law is biased towards women? No. But again, this is what the definition of justice is. You take into consideration that these are different biological needs. A man can't get pregnant. Why would he need, a maternity leave? So it's making proportionate. It reminded me of a very nice visual. I'm sure maybe you've seen it on Instagram. It depicts equality and injustice very accurately. It's a picture of 3 people that want to watch a soccer game, and they're each different heights. So one is a child, and one is an adult, and one is a medium height. So they put 1 box for the adult, the tall guy, and the 3 boxes for the kid, and like 2 boxes for the mid-height guy. So now they can all see the soccer game over the fence. So this is justice. If you apply equality, you would put 1 box or a stool for everyone. Only maybe one will see the game.
Correct.
So that's the key difference between it. So no, it does not side necessarily with equality.
Also, like in terms of punishment, if the crime committed is the same that a man does and a woman does, is the punishment different? Well, the same.
No, and no. As a rule, there's a penal code in Kuwait under criminal law. It says the punishment for everything: for assault, for assault, for defamation. But the punishment changes, for example, to the severity of the situation. It's not the criminal judge has a lot of discretion. So depending on the facts of the case, the person, on what capacity, if they're a mother or a dad, sometimes the punishment gets more severe. So it depends on what capacity as well, the facts of the case. But essentially, there is no article that stipulates that women are penalized more than men. Of course not.
Okay. I want to talk about social media influencers since we're into the same business. There's a question like social media influencers are working to brands and clients and, promoting their products, stuff like that. Are they regulated in Kuwait? And for example, if I'm a consumer of a particular social media influencer and I was wronged by that person, can I be protected by law?
I love this question. Actually, this is a great tool for legislation. Okay, so the status quo right now, influencers are not regulated by law. There is no law that regulates influencers. But the cassation courts, there are cases in court. The cassation court is the highest level of court in Kuwait.
Okay.
In litigation. So there are many verdicts and rulings that stipulate and rule that influencers are to be classified as merchants or like traders, like business owners. They are classified so they're applying the commercial law on them, the cassation court. Usually the cassation court will take their opinion into high consideration because these are principles. It's not law, but their opinion or their verdicts are very much taken into consideration. So they did classify in many cases that influencers are to be treated as merchants and did apply the commercial law because the characteristics of a merchant applies to them, which is in commercial law, you have what makes a merchant a merchant. He must do it consistently. He must depend on it as his means of living. He must have capacity of age and mental sound and whatnot. So all of these characteristics apply to them. Therefore, we apply the commercial law to them. Okay. However, the government's position or the state's position on that, they didn't say, we regulate, they are banned or not banned or halal. It stayed silent on this issue. Okay. You know what I mean? And it didn't give any protections for specifically for the ones being harmed by them by consumers. Like normal businesses, you can file a complaint to the consumer protection. However, when it comes to real cases and a consumer has been harmed, he can go to court and claim damages based on that. Because we've seen the cassation court did issue rulings on that.
How long ago was this ruling?
Beginning of last year, end of last year, it was a ruling. Yeah.
So before
but
that,
it's not one ruling. Again, it's cases, and I don't know how many, but I've seen a couple. But I don't know how many. It's cases like people bringing cases to court on that matter. Yeah. I don't think it's a large number, but I mean there is precedent on this.
Okay. So the consumers can be protected against.
Yes, but I hope, inshallah, I have a positive outlook on the way things are going, even on legislation viewpoint. We will soon have, inshallah, I hope, a legislation to regulate this type of business and advertising. UAE, I believe they just recently launched one. Just recently, maybe a few months, about 2 months ago, I believe. They issued a law regulating influencers.
Yeah. Interesting. So. Inshallah, Kuwait can fall.
Inshallah, yes. Hopefully a matter of time.
There's a lot of misconceptions about lawyers. What common misconceptions that you come across on a day-to-day basis, and what is the reality as a lawyer?
Misconceptions from people?
From people, yeah. The lawyer is this, lawyer is that, there are misconceptions.
Okay, whatever they say, they don't say it to the lawyer's face. They obviously say it behind their back.
Right.
But... obviously I hear the term that lawyers are greedy and they only want money, and I guess that's the mainstream language. Right? But the serious trials, I'm sure whoever dealt with a lawyer knows it's beyond that. Sometimes there's a famous saying, even me, if they do audit, it depends. Lawyers say it depends. Because truly the law depends on your situation. Like, for example, sometimes your situation can be similar to this, but the law applies to you differently because of the facts of the case.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm not sure. What do you think they say about lawyers? And I'll tell you if it's
true or not. Think about the money. Like, okay, a lawyer's motive is only to make money, I'm that court, he will slaughter and, make money off of me and stuff like that. That's even the paradigm.
But can't you say it's about any business or profession?
Right.
I mean, like if people target you with marketing and sales, an investment company wants to sell you a product, or any merchandise they want to sell.
I think there's friction in spending money for a lawyer, like I can buy this bottle of water, and I don't have the friction. Like in this society, there's no friction in buying water, but there's friction in buying, hiring a lawyer. people usually say, okay, why should I spend thousands of dinars for a lawyer and stuff like that? So
Yeah, maybe because the ones that don't see the value of it, even 1 dinar would be expensive for you.
right,
Okay, it's
maybe
like
because it's not
mindset.
tangible.
Not because it's not tangible, because there are many service-based industries. The legal profession is a service-based industry. It's not a product. But I believe because maybe some people view it as I only need it when I'm like really in deep trouble, so they don't take. But the people that are actually very affluent and have been dealing with those or have the money, they don't view it as this. You will see it depends on the segment you're talking to, who is the person that is saying it. And I assume the person that is saying that he has very minor experience dealing with lawyers.
Absolutely.
He didn't have or he actually never needed one. Maybe he didn't require one, so he doesn't see the need for it. But the ones that are in a different situation, they do need. For example, a person that has a company who had disputes, they will see the value of a company. And I'm sure you see many business gurus, the ones that they always tell you, the first thing you should hire is a lawyer. Maybe at a seed stage startup, you will say it doesn't resonate with you. But when you grow to a certain level, you will say, no, we do recognize what these guys are saying and why we need a lawyer.
Right. What is the landscape of counterfeit products in Kuwait?
Sorry?
Counterfeit products, like fake products, fake brand products. Like there's fake items of Gucci, Prada, all these items.
Yeah, what's that?
What is the landscape at Kuwait? Like it's strictly prohibited to sell fake items, right?
It is prohibited, yes. But sometimes I believe many of them get away with it because nobody is moving with the حركة الدعوة. Nobody is actually taking action that is actually damaged by that. Then usually, for example, a brand should file a case.
Yeah. So without a brand filing a case, the government cannot.
No, they do.
They do?
You see the MLC, they always go into inspections and they actually do inspections. Yeah.
Funny story. I was actually planning to start a fake items store in Kuwait a few years ago. Alhamdulillah, I did start that.
I think your business is doing much better.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. All right. I think that's it for today. And I had a lovely conversation, learned a lot about laws, lawyers and stuff. And if you have any final words for our audience, please let them know. This is your camera.
I want to tell you first, thank you for having me. And you're doing a great job here. And I hope I added some sort of value into this conversation.
Amazing values.
For people, if you have a true desire to pursue, if you have a constant desire to do something, I would say if you have an itch, scratch it. So if you have this deep desire towards achieving something and it's constantly persistent, go for it by all means, because you'll never know until you try.
True.
I once heard a quote, I love it. It says, the definition of my worst nightmare is that the person after the last day you have on earth, the person you are will meet the person you could have become. So it's like to leave things and we regret the things we didn't do. So if you want, but again, you have to want it. It's not like something,
True.
Wallah, I want to try it because it sounds cool.
Yeah.
You have to really want it.
True.
In order to prevail and continue. That's it. Thank you so much.
We had a lovely time.
Likewise.
So guys, that's it for today's episode. Stay lawful and remember, حب الوطن من الإيمان.